Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Damnation, Season 1, Episode 1. It is called Sam Riley's Body. So we'll start spoiler free because this is an Episode 1, because we usually do that. Obviously, most episodes we just go into spoilers straight away, but since it's Episode 1, you might hear what the quality's like before you check it out, and you don't want to be spoiled, obviously, so we'll do that, a bit of that first. We'll warn you before we go into spoilers later, and we'll do it. So this is a new show from USA Network. It is a western. It stars Logan Marshall Green. It's basically a small town. It's kind of like, actually, one of the things I do like about it, actually, before we get into like whether we even like the show or not, but I just want to say that I kind of like how it's in this weird like overlap of time where we're clearly in the era where we have cars and we have automobiles, but because this town is like in the middle of nowhere and it's kind of like the outskirts, it still kind of feels like when they go into town, it's kind of like a old western main road kind of vibe.
Okay, I get you.
You know, I kind of like this a mix of it where you've still got cars, but you've got kind of that old western town kind of vibe. It's a weird mix, but
It's the 1930s, but it looks like it's still stuck in the 1880s.
yeah, except for the fact that they've got cars and the guns are a bit more advanced.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, so I like that weird mishmash they've got there, just because of the setting. But so basically, we're at a time of economic unrest, and there's a evil banker in the town who has a weird system set up for all the local farmers where he's conning them out of their money, and they can't make enough back to actually pay off their loans and their mortgages. And because of that, they're all on strike. And the strike is kind of led by the local priest, the pastor. He's like kind of like sort of spearheading this whole initiative. He's encouraging everyone to strike. He's helping them. The farmers are setting up blockades around town so that deliveries from outside the town can't even come in, so they can't even buy their goods from elsewhere, because they want to make their money and they want fair prices. They want a fair shake, and that's what's going on. But the evil banker then hires a lawman to come in and maybe deal with the situation, or at least it seems that way at first. Maybe that's not how it turns out, but you have Logan Marshall Green's character who comes in and basically acts as an enforcer to try and discourage the farmers from protesting and striking. So that's kind of the premise.
He's basically Quarry at the end of his journey.
Well, he's not a hitman, but yeah, I can see what you're saying.
Yeah.
The only problem is those were about 40 years in the past compared to Quarry.
Look, he got reincarnated.
Yeah, so it's a town in Iowa. I can't remember what the town's called, but it's in Iowa, and that's the premise of the show. That's the basic setup, and you have kind of like, obviously there's not much of it in this first episode, but you kind of get this feeling that the priest and this Logan Marshall Green's character, they're going to be like the rivals throughout the show. There's actually something that I knew from the trailer before I watched this, but I won't bring it up just now because I feel like it is a spoiler because of where it comes in the episode.
I feel like I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't remember this from the trailer. I don't know if I actually watched a full trailer. Maybe I did.
You did, because we talked about it on the news.
Okay.
But yeah.
But I don't remember this. But it got to this point in the episode. I was like, I know where this is going.
Yeah, because of course it is. Yeah. No, I can see that. So I'll ask the question, Connor, did you enjoy episode 1 of Damnation?
It's all right. I feel like there's a really easy way I can describe this show, or how I feel about it. I would say if I didn't know any better, I would say this was an AMC show.
I agree, because Joe, what I was feeling like the whole time? I was like, remember we watched The Sun, and we were like kind of like...
Is that the Pierce Brosnan one?
Yeah, and we were like, oh, this is okay, it was kind of meandering, it wasn't really hitting kind of what it was trying to do. I mean, I think this one's slightly better, mainly just because Logan Marshall Green's really good, and like whenever he's on screen, he's kind of, he's kind of owning the screen whenever he's there. And like, so that's better, but I have to admit, I wasn't really feeling this overall.
No, I think there's some nice ideas, but it's just too. Oh, here's a guy who's morally ambiguous.
I didn't hate it. I think my first problem was I feel like I had no one to kind of root for. There was no one that I kind of connected with, which was fine for a little while because we're just kind of getting to know things. But by the end of the episode, I'm like, I don't even.
Yeah, it feels like I'm supposed to be on a side.
Yeah, I don't care enough yet, and like I'm supposed to care enough to come back for episode 2, and right now I'm not. Like right now I'm feeling like, I don't really care about the conflict. I don't really care about the characters, and I know what they're going for, which is the really annoying thing about some of these shows that don't quite click. Is I really know what they're going for.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this could be great. There's like the ideas and the potential is there, but they're just not quite getting it.
One of my problems that I think I have with it is weirdly, it's kind of funny because I'm going to say it's slightly boring, right? But my complaint's actually the opposite of what you think it's going to be. I actually think it moves too fast, and as a result, it's too boring because nothing actually has the impact that it should. Whereas if you slowed it down and let the scenes breathe and let it actually have some like suspense within the scenes, which I think it mostly lacks. There's lots of scenes in this where I feel like, oh, this could be really engaging, this could be really nail-biting stuff where someone's got a gun on someone and they might shoot, they might not, and like, but I just felt like it was going at such a pace that I just could never really get engaged in it.
I have to say, I think the direction's a bit weak. I feel like it's trying to do that, that premium cable, like, slow burn, but it's not quite getting it. It's like it knows what it's trying to do, but it's not quite pulling it off.
Yeah, it's going for that feeling, but it's not actually got the time to actually do it. I don't think it's. Oh, pardon me. I don't think it's necessarily even the director. I don't know who the director is of the episode. When I could check and tell you, I suppose. Where is it? Adam Kane.
Okay.
I don't think Adam Kane necessarily doesn't know what he's doing per se. I think it's a case of he's been told to go for a certain style, or he wants to go for a certain style, and I think, unfortunately, because of the time slot and because they're told it has to hit this length and it has to do this, or you have to get through X amount of plot, it doesn't actually have the time to actually let it breathe. So I can actually see little touches in the direction where I'm like, I can see again what's trying to, because I can't say it's boring direction in the sense that it's like a network show where
no, it's above that, but I think it's like I said, it's emulating the style of one of these premium shows, but I don't think it's quite there.
It's moving too fast. I think that's almost too vague to say it's just not there. I think it's specifically it's just moving too fast. Like it's doing all these little shots where it's it's focusing on something and then coming up to the person's face. It's doing all these things. It's trying to be suspenseful, but it's just moving too quick, and none of it has any actual pace to it. None of it just you feel like you're just sort of speeding through the ideas really quickly. And by the end of the episode, honestly, you're just kind of like, well, I don't really care anymore. Like you had your chance in the first third maybe or so to kind of make me care a little bit and grab my attention, but as it went on and it just kept never slowing down, it was just kind of.
No, I'm with you. There's just too much in it.
The characters are kind of exactly what you expect in a show like this. I wasn't like.
Yeah, very like bordering on stereotypical.
Or archetypical, perhaps. Like our main character's got a dark past. We don't know what that is yet. We just know it's probably violent, and we know he's not really a priest. Like he is kind of. I mean, he's a priest now, but like
it's
clearly
a cover story in some ways.
He's had a life of crime. Like he's supposed to be married to this woman Amelia, but the way they talk to each other, it's like, okay, they are a relationship, but it almost feels like the marriage itself is actually kind of a lie, and they don't it's implied later on that they only know each other for a few years, and before that, like they didn't, and there's all this history they're hinting at and stuff, and it has this weird thing where I feel like, as much as we're saying, because we keep saying it's trying to emulate that premium cable kind of feel to it, and it's trying to emulate. I'm trying to think of a show. I feel like people would want to compare it to Deadwood. I've never seen Deadwood though, so I can't make that comparison. I really can't. But like if I'm to compare it to something like, say, I always go back to Breaking Bad, not because the plot's anything like Breaking Bad, but just in the sense that you have characters who are not necessarily morally the best things in the world, right?
Yeah.
And I think that what I feel that this show's done is that it's looked at Breaking Bad, it's looked at maybe your Deadwood, it's looked at other things, and it's kind of saying, okay, what works about all those shows? And it almost feels like a premium cable show that's designed by committee to try and tick all those boxes.
It does, and I think there's something I've noticed with these sorts of shows. We talked about The Sun, and I think I've seen a couple now that are like this, where. And I think Breaking Bad's the obvious example to compare them to, because it feels like they want the success of that. That's what they're chasing after. And they looked at that journey and went, oh, okay, he's our main character is morally ambiguous, but it's interesting. And they've gone, all right, we want morally ambiguous, but they forget that that's kind of the middle of the story. Yeah, and that's not the start of the story. At the start of the story, you're rooting for him.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. If you go back to the start of Breaking Bad, he's not unlikable. He's actually completely likable. The reason why Breaking Bad works is he starts off as a really nice, honest seeming man. Like it's over the course of the show that he gets more ambiguous and morally corrupt.
Right, and this here feels like they just start in the middle and go, oh well, morally ambiguous. That's what people like.
Yeah, and I actually don't like it if you can't make it engaging. Like, I think it would, like, it would probably work if the actual scenes with the suspense actually worked. Like, if it actually felt suspenseful. But there's scenes in this where Logan Marshall Green's like got people at gunpoint, or there's scenes like this where the priest character's like sort of like hiding because there's people sneaking into his house, and I didn't feel anything during any of it. Like, it was all just kind of just by the numbers. We're just going through these motions of this is what you're supposed to have in a show like this.
No, I agree. And even the point, we talked about, oh, he's got all this backstory and, all this previous, like, we learned way too much of that, like, in one go. But I didn't need to know all of this stuff. A hint at these things, maybe, but they kind of just come out and tell us a huge chunk of it in some ways.
They do and they don't, because at the same time, I feel like I can't tell you anything about his backstory.
I don't have any concrete information, but I know enough to know, oh, okay, there is a big backstory here. I know that much for certain.
Yeah, no, okay, I get what you're saying. They actually come out and say, oh, you have a big dark backstory that you're not talking about. We'll find out about that later.
Yeah, exactly. I don't need to know that yet. Just hint, maybe just let me subtly realise there's something more to this guy. But then they go, oh, don't worry, he's not really a priest. Don't worry about it.
Which, to be fair, you also know that from the very first scene. In the very first scene, he does something that's very, unpriestly. Very sort of, shady and off-book. And it's like, okay, right, that's fine at first, because at first I'm like, okay, right, so we're setting up that he's this different guy. But I almost wonder, would it work better if, for the most of the episode, he did seem like a priest, and then at the end of the episode, he did one thing that was like, oh, no, that's not what you'd expect from this character. I think
that's more interesting. But even if they just, kept that stuff at the start where... So I'm aware that he's not... there's more going on. I don't need them to tell me that in the dialogue as well. One or the other. Preferably the showing me, because that's more interesting still.
Yeah, showing's better than telling, definitely. There was a couple of moments like that, actually, where I felt like a character would tell us something, and then we'd cut to another scene, and we'd get the exact same information from someone else.
Yeah, there was.
A couple of examples of that was bugging me.
And I think just we're kind of putting all these criticisms. It's not even bad.
That's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing. It's not terrible by any means. It looks pretty decent, like in terms of production value. Like it feels.
Yeah, it's got a budget.
It's got a budget. Like we say, some of the cast are pretty good, particularly Logan Marshall Green, who I've been kind of praising.
Yeah. It's definitely more than watchable. I don't see the incentive to make me want to come back for more.
It's the kind of thing where technically to a point it's completely serviceable. But as a result, it's almost more boring as a result for me, because it's like, at least if it's something that's really bad, I can like laugh at the stupidity of it. Whereas here, it's just kind of bland. If you want me to describe it in a word, I would call it bland.
The other word I'd say is disappointing, because I can see what it could be.
Yeah, sure.
But there's potential in the ideas and what it's doing, and just squandering great actors.
And also, I throw in the word derivative.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'd throw that in the mix if we're describing it. So I'll give the spoiler warnings just so we can talk about what the plot was specifically and what worked and didn't work for it. So the whole thing, so we've got this blockade, the farmers are blocking the truck, and we find out that the evil bankman's told one milkman that if you bring in your milk into town today, we'll pay you double for it at the store. And he's arranged all this because basically he wants to make a show of it and say, like, hey, one person did it, so they'll all start crumbling because they want their money, because they're starting to struggle without their income. And Logan Marshall Green's hiding in the truck, and he ends up shooting one of the farmers. And the plot kind of revolves around that. And there's a lot of like showboating for his character to prove what type of person he is, because he drags the dead body into this bar, and he makes people like he buys around a whiskey for everyone. He's like, no, what, my whiskey's not good enough for you? And he scares them all into drinking his whiskey, and he scares this cousin of this guy you just killed into telling him, is there anyone who might come for revenge? And it's just, it's all this stuff to like just make it very clear he is very morally corrupt and dark and a badass. Like, again, it almost felt like Badass 101. What do you do in a script to make someone seem like a badass? Let's do the first thing that comes to mind.
I agree, and the only reason any of this really works for me is the acting. That pulls it off.
He's very good, which is why it works for the most part.
Yeah.
And so there's twists and turns with him. Obviously, the big thing that I remembered from the trailer, which honestly probably did affect a lot of this episode for me, because the whole time I'm like, okay, when are you just going to tell us they're brothers? Just let's get to it. The priest and Logan Marshall Green, they're brothers. Let's just get to it. And it was then it's the big thing at the end of the episode. It's the big reveal, because they don't see each other all episode, and you can see halfway through, after like they found the body and they find out what's happened, you can see in the priest's eyes he knows who this sounds like. He's like, I know who that is. And I was like, oh, okay, this could be exciting. He knows. I thought he's going to go and confront him right now. And then he didn't. And then the episode kept going. And it wasn't until the very end of the episode, after the son of the guy who got killed gets dragged off by the police because Logan Marshall Green went and framed him for the murder of the milkman. So everyone involved in this whole charade's been killed except Logan Marshall Green, or carted off to prison for a crime they didn't commit. He's ruined all these people's lives. And this is when the priest finally storms off to the whorehouse where he's staying and comes in and he's like, you bastard, you know, I will fight you, you prick. I can't even remember half the dialogue. But after they leave, like the prostitute who's with him is like, oh, who was that? And he's like, my little brother. And I'm like, really, that's the hook at the end of the episode. I knew this before I started watching it.
I think this is the thing. Maybe I did know at some point because, like I say, I watched that trailer however long ago. I had completely forgotten by now. And I wasn't in my head all episode. And as soon as they got in the room together, I was like, oh, they're brothers. Oh, okay.
And to see, the thing is I couldn't have told you anything else about the trailer other than that it looked like a western, other than the fact that they're brothers. That was the one detail I remembered, because it was obviously the cinch. It was the, hey, that's the twist to this. They're brothers. These two people who are rivals, they're actually brothers from the past. And it's like, okay, I don't know when I would have clocked it had I not known. It's hard to say because I knew, like from the start.
It's only when they got in the room together, and I was like, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah, and obviously the other twist, of course, is that he's actually not just this rogue guy. He's actually a detective who's been sent here to squash any uprising that might happen. Because we see another agent, this lady who goes to another town, and basically he's like, oh, right, so you're having some squabbles with the miners in this town. Maybe if there was some sort of bloodbath, we could actually get the National Guard in here, but until there's actually some violence, we can't do that. And she actually, whilst there's like a protest going on and the sheriff's there and everything's going down, she sneaks up onto a hill and actually snipes a couple of them to get them fighting, because they'll think it's them fighting each other.
I think they think it's the police.
Yeah, I guess, like, which is weird because it really does feel like it's like a third party. Like, I feel like in the scene it feels like that.
Because she's not behind the police; she's off to the side.
Yeah, it's coming from the side. Yeah.
Like, I mean, I get you don't see her, you don't see the gunshot, but you hear it. You hear, oh, that's come from that side.
Yeah, you hear it's coming from over there. I mean, I don't know. That'd be the sort of thing I'd let go. Like, I can almost buy that in the chaos, like tensions are high. Like,
sure,
I'll let that one go. But so that's
just another thing, though, isn't it?
Yeah, given all the criticisms we have, it's another thing that wasn't quite clicking. So you've got that. It hints at a couple of other things, like the press kind of like don't talk about any of this stuff happening. The local paper, because they're paid off by the banker, and it's, you know, it's about corruption. It's about let's be honest, it's about the 1%ers and the rest of the public.
Oh yeah, it's all class warfare is what the show's really supposed to be about.
That's exactly what it is. And you've got one brother who wants to stick up for the class, even though he's done bad things in the past, and you've got the other one who's working for the man, who's there to enforce the man's laws and rules.
Yeah. And this is why I say this show could be incredibly good and incredibly interesting. Like, that idea at its core, I think could make a great TV show.
Yeah, but I have to admit, there was a point maybe about halfway through where I was like, I'm looking forward to the credits now, just so I can.
I'm not gonna lie. There's a point where it cut to an ad break, and I went, "Oh, it's not over."
I was waiting for it to end before it did, and I think when it comes to us saying, "Oh, do we give episode 2 a try? Do we see if it gets better?" I think when we get to the point where we were actually hoping for it to end, so we could never have to watch it again, that we're
just not bother.
Yeah, we're done. We've clearly made up our minds at that point. That's not to say that it couldn't get better necessarily. I mean, it could, but right now the thought of watching another one of these is honestly like mind numbing.
Yeah, it's
not scary. It's not terrifying. It's not.
No, the thing is, I could do it. But I don't think I could give it my full attention, knowing what it is.
It's just mind-numbing. That's the exact phrase I'd use. It felt really dull to me.
Yeah, definitely.
And nothing was ever kind of clicking. Nothing was ever sparking or engaging. Nothing ever like oh, that's interesting. Oh, I care about that. Or I care about this. Because the actual very end of the episode is after this all goes down. We end. The priest has put up the dead body of the guy who died at the start. He's actually gotten his body out of the grave, or the or the local morgue or whatever, wherever he's been hiding out. Not the dead bodies hide, but you know what I mean. But you know, wherever the body was, he got it, and he puts it in front of the banker's like office front door, sort of like strung up like a kind of scarecrow style thing, and it's got like a note around his neck saying, "Which side are you on?" So it's clearly starting this class war that's going to go down in this town. And I'm like, okay, yeah, you should be sort of setting up what your premise is at the end of the first episode, making it clear that you've set it up. Unfortunately, I was just glad that it was over. So.
Yeah, I think it took like a few too many things to get to that point.
Yeah.
Of it's like you go one way or the other. Be like, okay, we either didn't need to know that this is what the show was in the first episode, that it was what it was really about. We can kind of get to that.
Yeah, like I said, I think the core problem is it just it goes through everything too quick. I don't know if like they have 20 episodes of material, but they've only got 8 or 10 to do it in, so they're just squishing it all in. I just think the pacing is far too quick, and as a result, nothing has the weight that it should.
Yeah, best case scenario is it's pilotitis.
But best case, yeah. But I'm just thinking like that scene where like Logan Marshall Green comes out of the truck and he's got all the farmers at gunpoint. Like that should have been like 3 times longer. That should have been milking the suspense and the tension.
Oh yeah, and John, when it's where the two brothers meet at the end, he puts his own head to the gun.
Mm.
I'm like, I don't care. Just shoot him. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I don't care about him. Yeah.
I'm like, this is supposed to be a big, heavy moment. It's like, this is the crux of the episode. It's our 2 characters finally meeting and having this face-off, and I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Yep. That honestly, if I'm summing up my review of this, it's like, whatever. I don't want to watch any more of it. So, it sounds pretty damning. It's not the worst thing ever. Like it's like if I'm.
Well, that's the thing. It's like if it was on, yeah, I could watch it. I'm not gonna hate it, but.
But we've got better things to watch. Basically,
exactly. Why would I waste my time?
If I was rating it, it'd be like a 5 out of 10.
Yeah, maybe a 6 just for Logan Marshall Green elevating it.
Maybe. But yeah, so I mean, check it out if you want to. But honestly, based on this first episode, I would not recommend Damnation. So it's a shame, but hey, the not double-edged sword. It's a single-sided sword. It's basically the upside. The upside to us not liking something is that it's not something that we have to add to the schedule. So there's positives and negatives to liking and not liking
sometimes
things.
It's like, I mean, it would be nice to have another good show because we always want good TV.
Oh, of course.
But yeah, I mean, if this one's not a hit, then it's not the end of the world.
Yeah. So there you go. That is Damnation. So let us know what you thought of the first episode in the comments if you happen to check it out. I know we didn't go as deep into the plot as we'd normally do with some of these TV shows, but that's because we're basically just talking about why we don't like it, which is different from actually.
I think we kind of both knew. Okay, we're not doing another one of this.
Yeah, we knew. We knew.
We did not discuss this before at all either. Actually, Peter watched before me and made a point of hiding it from me, like of his opinion.
Oh yeah, I have this thing where I won't tell Connor what I think. I mean, it's maybe different when it's like, oh, it's the next episode of Mr. Robot. I mean, he knows I'm going to love it, so what's the point in hiding it? Yeah. But when it comes to movies and it comes to things like this, where it's a first episode, I go out of my way to not even say on Twitter, to not say on Facebook, anywhere that I like it or dislike it, because I don't want him to know before we start recording.
Yeah, he likes to spring it on me.
Because sometimes I might surprise him. He might not expect what I'm going to say.
It happens every so often.
So
I mean, just look at episode 7 of Stranger Things.
Oh yeah, aye. There you go. That's one.
Perfect example.
I keep hitting the desk. I'm sorry. It's probably annoying and loud.
God, you're a dick.
So let us know what you think of Damnation, episode 1, in the comments. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv. You can do that over there. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching. Keep watching TV. Have you got any vanilla?